your friends, and social media, answers are everywhere. But where can you find the truth? Welcome to the StudentCast. We're asking for a friend so you don't have to.
What is up, party people? We are back at the StudentCast asking questions for a friend so you don't have to. My name is Brynn, and I'm here with my friend
Ka'eo, and we are back. I am so glad to be back. I've missed everybody at this point.
I know.
And we are experiencing some beautiful vibes out there. It is like I don't know, just getting better and better.
Yeah, and we're post spring break, so we've had a little bit of some time to kind of sit, maybe tan a little.
Yeah, recharge.
Go on vacation.
Yes.
I don't know. But now we're back in the swing of things.
We are, and I am yearning for the rest again.
Yeah, do you feel yourself being okay, we just got done with one break, and I'm already how long until summer?
Already
How long until the next break?
I feel like that's a sign of something, Brynn.
Maybe.
But I am currently feeling that already. I can't wait for the weekend. I can't wait for summer vibes. Can't wait to go to the beach, grill outs. I want to be there already.
Totally.
I'm kind of experiencing this senioritis kind of thing where it's boo, this doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, totally. And I think,
Also, didn't we just had this episode on human being and human doing recently too.
Okay.
And we got a lot of questions from that.
Yeah, I lost my train of thought, and that is exactly what I was
thinking.
Well,
you were thinking about summer binging,
I know,
Outer
literally,
Banks.
you guys just witnessed me have my checkout moment of a break sounds so nice.
Brynn currently had a break in this moment.
Yeah, yes. In that moment. Okay, but we did have an episode a few weeks ago on Are You a Human Being or Human Doing? Which if you haven't listened to it, you should.
Check it out.
But we mentioned on that episode of if you are operating as a human doing instead of a human being for too long, you might experience a thing called burnout.
That's right. What?
And exactly is what the response was that we got from some people saying hey, you mentioned this thing. You talked about this thing called burnout. I don't know if I'm there.
Yeah.
What is burnout?
Yeah, am I on fire? Am I charred? Am I been on the grill too long?
Yeah. But what is that? And if I'm not there, how do I prevent it? But if I am there, because I think I might be, what do I do next?
Yeah, if you're already asking the question, you probably are. Yeah.
Potentially. Yeah, but talking about burnout, we used to invite this guy, our guy, Merriam-Webster.
But he experienced some burnout. Because we're constantly asking him to do something over a long period of time and with no sense of reprieve.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and so we gave him a break.
We did give him a break.
Yeah.
You might have noticed we haven't asked him in a while.
Yes.
But we did ask him for a definition of what burnout is. So our guy, Merriam-Webster, was back and he said, burnout is exhaustion of physical or emotional strength or motivation, usually as a result of prolonged stress or frustration.
Explains why he was burnt out.
Explains it.
Okay, so wait, you hit some prolonged stress?
Or frustration.
Wow. So honestly, anyone could experience burnout. Adults are not the only people that experience burnout.
No, because thinking of StudentCast students, all that you guys have going on. I feel we hear all the time. It's I went from school for 8 hours to
That's
a sports or a play rehearsal, to a tutoring session, to
and then back
trying to
practice.
do homework, and then I slept for a few hours because I was up till 1 doing homework, and then I started my whole day over again.
I would get burned out if that was my continuous week.
It's a lot.
And then people keep expecting you to do more and do better.
Yeah.
That's prolonged stress.
Yeah. The performance culture surrounding you being if you don't do all these things perfectly or at least really well, you're failing. It's just a lot.
It's a lot. And so we have to start asking the question then, okay, so if we are constantly human doing, then possibly we're going to be exhausted and burnt out. And so we need to identify, okay, how do I know if I am burnt out?
Yeah.
Well, I think first and foremost, I think you kind of answered that question already, Brynn. if you are already looking forward to the next thing, it might mean that you are burnt out.
Yeah.
Because, for instance, in the past day, hour, whatever, you're I cannot wait till I get to the weekend. Cannot wait till I get to summer because spring break's over. Cannot wait until I graduate. Cannot wait until I'm done with school. Can't wait until I'm an adult, whatever it is, or can't wait until I get a new job. That would mean that you are currently looking for an escape, which means your current situation is burning you out.
Yeah.
Brynn, have you experienced that in your life at all?
Yeah, I actually have. I think even kind of recently found myself in a spot of burnout, or at least the initial signs of it. And so if I'm being honest, it like freaked me out because I was like, I feel like I've only seen burnout talked about in a way where it's at the really like, it's at like the 9s and 10s on a scale of 1 to 10, where it like blows up. And I feel like the Lord like got me in that moment of like, hey, like, yeah, maybe this is a 3, 4, 5 of burnout, but like, this is what it could be. And so like almost using that to like sober me to be like, okay, I need to alter some things in my life and in my patterns right now.
Yeah. So even for me, I think this burnout, we need to first take away like the negative, like connotation of burnout. It's just like, this is bad. You somehow lost, you are less than because you've burnt out. No, what happens is you were just operating at a capacity that your soul could not bear no more.
Yeah.
And so what we need to first start would be like, okay, yeah, so we need to identify what are your patterns going on in your life? I have a lot of things going on. What's constantly taking at your emotional energy or even like your physical energy? What's happening? Even like athletes have rest days for a reason.
Yeah.
Right?
That's so true.
And so if we're constantly operating and going and going and going, then at that point we are operating outside how we were not designed.
Yeah.
If you think about it, didn't like the Lord create like the day of rest?
Yeah. And we even see, we see in Mark 1:35, we see Jesus model his own rest. It says, and rising very early in the morning, while it was still dark, he departed and went out to a desolate place, and there he prayed. And that's Jesus.
Yeah.
Like
Come on
he left and took silence and solitude and prayed to the Lord. And so when we're saying this was like one of the most humbling things that I feel like I ever had to wrap my brain around is that if I'm saying I don't need rest or like I don't need that day of rest or that silence and solitude, but Jesus did, what am I saying? Like, oh, that I am more powerful than Jesus.
Yeah,
like
better.
I don't need what like God reincarnate in human body needed. Like that, when I phrase it like that, I'm like, who do I think that I am? Like, this is what I need. This is how I'm designed to operate as a human being, is to rest.
Exactly. But what's so hard is that society continues to like affirm this belief that we need to continually be exponentially better and improving and producing.
Yeah.
And we praise when we do better, right? And so I must keep going. I must keep getting better. And then all of a sudden you realize like, oh, wait, this is unsustainable.
Yeah. And that culture, like the way that affected me and when I kind of started noticing that I was burnt out was it affected the way I not only viewed like myself and people around me, but also the way I viewed the Lord. And like, I remember one of the first times that I was like, oh, I actually think I'm really burnt out is we did this exercise of like, close your eyes. Imagine that you are like sitting in the place that you experience, like feeling the Lord's presence. And like we found ourselves in that spot. And then it was like, imagine that the Lord comes and sits next to you. Like, what does he say? And my first thing that my brain went to was that he said like, I'm disappointed and you can be doing more. And I was like, that's not the Lord's voice. So why is that what I'm picturing him to say to me right now?
Yeah.
And that was like a huge thing of me being like, oh, I have to recognize that maybe I'm not even really connected to the Lord right now because that's my voice that I'm hearing when the Lord sat next to me. And so that was kind of what started to push me into this like processing of what are my rhythms? How do I can I turn back the time, God, and like figure out how to not be burnt out? Like, I don't know. So what if someone identifies that they're burnt out, what do they do next?
Yeah, I think, well, first and foremost, they have to get to the point where they can admit that they are burnt out. So I think oftentimes we think, oh no, like I just need a day off, it'll be fine. But you need to get to the point where you can be like, I am burnt out. The things that used to give me joy don't. My whole time with the Lord does not exist. I've been operating out of my own strength, my own power, and to the point where I'm trying to exercise control on everything. And even trying to exercise control on my own like rest, And so first we gotta get there. And then second, we have to be like, okay, we have to address the issue, right? Which oftentimes we think, okay, I need to just rest. I need to sit and watch TV. I just need to go ahead.
Yeah.
And so like true, yes, like when you're experiencing burnout or experiencing exhaustion, it's like you should tend to the body, right? I need to eat better. I often find when I'm not eating well, I'm not drinking as much water, not exercising anymore, that is a sign of something that's going on in my own rhythms, right?
Yeah.
So maybe drink some water instead of like Red Bulls for a while,
The Bang energy drinks.
Throw those away for a second and replace them with actual H2O. Jesus is the living water, right? Get some water.
Gosh.
Okay, or two, maybe eat a meal.
Hangry Brynn is not a Brynn anyone wants to be around.
It's the same for me. Okay. Hangry Ka'eo means I have zero patience for everybody. And so even myself. So maybe eat a food. Maybe put your phone down and actually get 8 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
Or 10. I think teenagers need 10.
Whoa.
Yeah. Like get some sleep because you cannot operate the way that God designed you because of that.
Yeah.
And if you realize that even despite that, you are still tired mentally, emotionally, then I'd say, okay, yeah, we're experiencing burnout. Now, what do we do? Okay, well, first and foremost, we need to go back to how God originally designed it, right? So let's go back to the Sabbath, right? And we are massive proponents of the Sabbath because it really stretches us.
Yeah, totally.
Brynn, you recently started exercising the Sabbath too, right?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I did. I read a book called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry, which if I could recommend any book besides the Bible, Ruthless Elimination of Hurry
it's is a good one.
So good.
Go on there Amazon, was a quote.
Get it now. Plug. There was a quote in it that says, in talking about Sabbath and what it is, it says, as I've said, the Hebrew word Shabbat means to stop, but it can also be translated to delight. It has this dual idea of stopping and also of joying in God and our lives in his world. The Sabbath is an entire day set aside to follow God's example, to stop and to delight, to delight in the world, in our lives in it, and above all in God himself. And it goes on to say, if you're new to the Sabbath, a question to give shape to your practice is this: what could I do for 24 hours that would fill my soul with a deep, throbbing joy that would make me spontaneously combust with wonder, awe, gratitude, and praise?
I enjoy that word picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
It's so cool. And so I think for me, I always pictured Sabbath as like this chore of like, okay, I would have to figure out a full day to like sit and read my Bible for 24 hours. And there'd probably be fasting involved.
Confession, it sounds torturous.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
But I think that's how I viewed it. And like I couldn't talk to anyone.
Okay.
Like, I think part of me like pictured in like a dark room. Like, I don't know like what I was picturing.
I don't know why I pictured middle of the woods, but you picked a dark room.
Like that vibe, like very alone.
Yeah.
And I think like that definition like totally broke this mold for me. Where it's like, okay, what are the things the Lord has designed you in a way where you are going to delight in certain things that he's created in a different way. Like me and you might delight in different things that the Lord's created.
Yeah, we do not Sabbath the same.
No. Yeah. And that's like, praise God for that because he gave us freedom to be like, oh, I have joy in this thing. And so, I just think that was like the most mind-blowing thing for me. And so Sabbath now looks so different and it's something that honestly, it takes a lot of preparation to like make sure it can happen.
Yeah, you have to be intentional.
Yeah. And it is like leading up to it is work. Like there's more work that has to get put on different days so that there can be a full free day to do this and exercise this thing. But it's one of the things I look forward to most in my week and is like now probably the most protected thing in my week. And out of an act of worship, like not out of an act of like chore or like just like abiding the law, but like, oh, this is a time for me to worship the Lord out of how he delights in me and how I can delight in his creation and how he's designed me.
Yeah, I think on a bad day, I would think of Sabbath as another way to burn out. Like it is another thing I must do in order for me to get reprieve, and then I'm gonna get burnt out from trying to force something to happen. And so I remember for me, I had to, in order for me to start like Sabbathing, I was like, I don't want to like burn out from doing that. And so I was like, I'm just gonna do 2 hours. Of where I'm just gonna trust in the Lord.
Yeah.
And then I will know that, okay, I still have X amount of hours in the rest of the day to do whatever I need to do that I wasn't intentional about. And then over time, the Lord's been really sweet in me, allowing me to trust that like, oh, I could take another hour.
Yeah.
I can do another thing.
Yeah.
And then also replacing it with some of your expectations of like, I don't have to be sitting in a dark room reading my Bible for 24 hours. Yeah. You know, it's like, oh, what are some things that like I should move my body? You know, I should become grounded again, right? I should read my Bible. I do read it during that time.
Yes.
But I also what are some things that like brings life?
Yeah.
Right? Like
it's so good.
Don't you have 3 things, don't you?
I heard it phrased as like do something that takes care of your body, something that takes care of your mind, and do something fun. And so like for the take care of your body, like that can be exercise. It could be like for me, I'm like, oh, skincare is so fun. I'm gonna throw a face mask on. Like that's so cool.
Wait, that's actually rad.
Like take a nap. Like
Ooh.
Literally go to sleep. Like that is taking care of your body.
I'm gonna go sleep.
Taking care of your mind could be, for me, I have to do no social media.
That makes sense.
That is what takes care of my mind. And then even like reading a book that's not for work is so good. Then do something fun. Your Sabbath doesn't have to be all by yourself. I think there should be a good amount of it that is. But I think like for me, I've made a list of like a few friends or like my mentor that are like, they could be invited into that Sabbath space for a period, not for the whole thing, but like, okay, like there's a couple friends who it's like, oh, I'll have them over for dinner. I do mine like Friday night at 5 to Saturday at 5. And it's like, okay, we'll start on Friday night with some like close friends. I'll make a homemade meal and like have dinner. That doesn't happen every week, but that's something that there's space for, that it's like, that's really fun.
Yeah.
And I like experience God's pleasure and his delight in being with his community. Yeah. So those are things for me that have worked. What are things that for you like try to practice in a Sabbath?
Yeah, for me, I like what I do is I slow down. So there are no timelines for me. It's like at 2 p.m. Well, because my calendar kind of rules my week. So on the Sabbath, it's almost like I kind of let it, I'm like, oh, we're back on the islands where like the time doesn't matter anymore. Yeah. And so it's like, yeah, at some point I want to accomplish these things. It doesn't matter when.
Yeah, that's so good.
So in the morning, it's like I would like to sit with my coffee, not try and drink it to give me energy, but almost to enjoy the things that I have just been like using to get me through the week.
So good.
So we slow down, number 1. 2, this is so... We're just exposing myself. I lay on the living room floor and I'd have worship music just playing.
So good.
I just lay there and it's like, Lord, this is your sanctuary and meet me in this place. And sometimes it's emotional, sometimes it's not. Sometimes I get stuck on a word and it pulls me back to God's word. So then I read the Bible. It's like, okay, what did I hear? What was resonating with me? And then I go outside or work out. So I go back, enjoy the sun. I do work out. Yeah. It's very important. It's very grounding for me. Yeah. And it also helps me be like, oh, that's actually what was bothering me. And then at the end of the night, I make sure that I have like gratitude, just a gratitude list. Things of like, I enjoy, things I'm grateful for. And then I also I allow one friend to be a part of that. It's not every time, but one friend for sure, of being able to be like, hey, like, I just want to talk about like, I don't know, like what is going on in their minds or in the life or what God's doing in them. Because then that reminds me to be encouraged that, oh, if I don't see God doing anything in my life this past week, I can hear how God's moving in someone else's. So,
which ultimately I think all this points to, like, if we go back to how this question even started, that we can feel burnout if we're operating as a human doing, not a human being. And then Sabbath is a way to prevent that feeling of burnout. I think it's because in order to do Sabbath, and in order, because some of you might be listening right now and be like, there's no way I could have any amount of hours in my week that aren't productive.
They're already allotted somewhere else.
That's exactly what we're saying, is that Sabbath is an act of trust and a way to reorient your identity in the Lord. Because for me, it's been so, in a good way, humbling that I can take 24 hours of like zero work and the world is not falling apart.
I mean, yeah, look at Chick-fil-A.
Exactly. The Chick-fil-A is the model here. But I think that is real. Like the world hasn't burned down because I am taking 24 hours to prioritize my like rest and relationship with the Lord and like how I feel that delight. And if anything, it's helping me to be able to actually be more present in my day-to-day on those other days.
Yeah.
And so for you, you might be sitting listening and saying like, okay, great. You guys are both like adults in charge of your own schedule. And like, I am in high school and my coaches determine my schedule. My parents' plans determine my schedule. This person's birthday party determines my schedule. So like, how do we encourage our friends who are like, I don't know if I even have that amount of control over my time to do this?
I wonder, this just seems so weird. I don't even know if I would have done it, but I wonder, could you ask? Hey mom, hey dad, hey adult, this day is something that I would love if we could try and figure out. Could we protect, because I would like to try to Sabbath, or as a family, could we do this together? Or hey peers, my friends, I want to try this. Could you do it with me?
Yeah.
Because then ultimately it's like, wow, if there's more people in your life practicing the same thing, then their schedules are going to line up with yours.
Totally.
I recognize that sports and school will be a little bit different.
Yeah.
But I do recognize that there are days when that can happen.
Yeah.
Right? Like you can do 4 hours.
I was going to say, it also doesn't have to be a full 24 hours.
Yeah.
So start somewhere.
Yeah.
Like starting anywhere is better than not starting it.
Did you start? Wait, I had a question. Did you just go cold turkey straight into 24? Oh, of course, Brynn. You're incredible.
But
I did not. I started with 2, like I said.
Yeah.
So could they do like maybe an hour?
Literally. Yeah. And also like, I remember Jordan Hogue told me this like a year before I actually started doing Sabbath was like that's why I do the 5 p.m. to 5 p.m. is because a good chunk, not a good chunk of it, but like I sleep Friday night.
Yeah.
Like I go to sleep.
I would hope
and
so.
I don't have my TV or my social media. So I fall asleep like 9 because I'm like, what else do I do right now? So I like fall asleep.
Read your book.
And then for sure. But I like fall asleep and then wake up the next morning. And I don't know. So there's ways you can do it where it's like part of that chunk of your Sabbath can be when you're asleep.
Yeah. I had a high school student. He said he did his from 9 p.m. until 9 a.m.
It's awesome.
Just 12 hours.
Yeah. That's so good.
And I was like, wow, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
You sleep for most of it.
It's great.
You wake up, read Bible, drink coffee.
Totally. So I think those are things to encourage you in. And then, talking to someone, be like, this is what I'm actually trying to do.
Yeah, like help me do it.
Yeah. And I think that's a way to be a light and a witness as well, because people, that is so against culture.
Yeah.
But I think the last thing that I want to make sure we say is also, if you're in a place of burnout, for me, like I had to start counseling to process through, like, there's like a lot of like layers to what I believe about myself and my value that led to a place of burnout, because that's what was like determining the way I was living my life. And so that also could be a thing that like in some way that you might need to be able to like process through how you got there and then how to like shift in the future. We don't know each and every one of your stories individually, but I think sometimes inviting more people into this process is needed in order to sort through the mess that we find ourselves in.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think before you even said that, I was like, the biggest thing you need to do is just say, I think I am burning out. Because I don't think you can help yourself at that point. You've hit the pit. You need someone else to help you get out. And so I agree with Brynn here. If that is something where you feel like you're at, just ask for help. I think there are people who in your life who actually care about trying to get you out of that. So
it's so good.
And also too, let's remember, Jesus promises rest for all people. His invitation in in Matthew, he says like, hey, look, all who are weary, not some of you, right? And heavy laden. Yeah, come to me and I will give you rest.
Yeah.
And so the invitation's for all. And so we just encourage you that's there.
Yeah.
We just got to take it.
It's so good. Well, we are so grateful for you guys entering into this conversation with us. Please continue this conversation with friends, family, all the things. Go ahead and share this episode to start the conversation. If you're like, I don't know how to say this.
This is me saying I'm burning out.
Listen about this burnout thing. But like, please share the episode, like and subscribe, drop a review, all the things. Give us the 5 stars.
We'd love it. Please.
We'd love it. But we'll see you in 2 weeks when we're asking for questions for a friend, so you don't have to.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Well StudentCast. As always, don't forget to subscribe and tell your friends about us. For more information about the Well Student Ministries, visit thewellcommunity.org/students.